welcome to the Deep Dive. If you enjoyed today's episode, do us a favor and like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Today we're going deep on strengthening your relationship with your child.
Okay.
We've got 8 expert tips taken from the Family Services website. The link to the full article is in the description, so check that out later. But for now, let's get into it.
All right. Sounds good.
So the article starts off talking about how important love is as like the foundation of a strong parent-child bond.
Okay.
It says that children need to feel safe, secure, and loved. These feelings actually shape how they approach all their relationships later in life. It makes you realize how crucial that early foundation is.
Yeah, it's interesting because the article really emphasizes how it's not just about saying, I love you.
Right.
It talks about showing love through your actions, things like physical affection, hugs, cuddles, those little moments of connection. It also talks about the importance of like genuine positive interactions throughout the day.
Right. It's about actually going beyond words and showing love. But then the article talks about setting boundaries and rules and having consequences when those rules are broken. On the surface, it seems a bit counterintuitive when we're talking about building a loving relationship. What do you think about that?
Well, the article frames it in a way that makes sense. It says that boundaries actually give the child a sense of security.
Okay.
Think about it. Children need structure and guidance to understand the world around them. It's not about being like authoritarian or anything, but it is about striking a balance, and that's where empathy comes into play.
So how do we do both? How do we set boundaries and empathize at the same time?
That's a great question. Empathy in the context of parenting means you're trying to understand your child's perspective even when you're setting limits. So instead of just reacting to a broken rule, take a moment to consider why they're behaving that way and what's going on emotionally.
Okay.
By listening and empathizing, you're building mutual respect even when you're disciplining them. It's about guiding them with understanding, not just controlling them.
That makes sense. So it's not about being permissive, but it's about having boundaries, but with love and understanding. Speaking of understanding, the article then goes on to talk about the importance of playtime. It talks about how play is a powerful way to connect with your child.
Absolutely.
And it goes beyond, the obvious developmental benefits of play.
Right. Play is so much more than just fun and games, although those are important too.
Yes.
It's how children develop crucial skills like language skills, emotional expression, and creativity. The article makes a point of saying that when you play together, you're not just supervising, you're actively entering their world.
I like that.
And showing them that you value their interests and their imagination.
It's like you're speaking their language, the language of play.
Yeah.
And the article also says that it doesn't have to be complicated or expensive. It's not about fancy toys. It's about genuine engagement and just being present in the moment.
Exactly. And speaking of being present, the article brings up this challenge. I think it's pretty neat. It's called the 10-minute challenge.
I love a good challenge. Tell me more.
Well, it's pretty simple. The article suggests setting aside just 10 minutes each day to be with your child without any distractions.
Wow.
No phones, no TV, no multitasking, just you and them completely present. It might seem like a small thing, but it sends a powerful message that they are a priority in your life.
I could see how that would be valuable, especially with how busy our lives are these days. Distractions are everywhere.
Right.
Those 10 minutes could make a huge difference.
For sure. You can use that time to just talk about anything, their day, their worries, their dreams, or you can just be together in silence. The important thing is that you make them feel seen and heard.
That's a good point. It's about creating a space where they feel safe to just be themselves. The article also talks about family meals and how those can strengthen the parent-child bond. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the article says that sharing meals together goes beyond just nutrition. It's an opportunity to connect, to have conversations, and to model healthy habits for your children. It's a time to check in with each other, to share stories, and just to enjoy being a family.
It's like a built-in ritual that helps ground everyone, and everyone feels like they belong.
Yes.
And speaking of rituals, the article mentions how important it is to spend one-on-one time with each child and to establish some special parent-child rituals.
That's a really great point.
What do you think about that?
I think these rituals are all about nurturing that individual connection with each child. It can be simple things like a walk in the park, a bedtime story routine, or really anything that feels special and unique to your relationship with that child. The key is to do it consistently and dedicate that time for just the two of you.
I love that. These rituals are like designated spaces for connection and bonding. And it's a way to show your child that you see them and value them as an individual, not just as part of the family unit. So we've covered a lot here, from the importance of showing love to the power of spending one-on-one time It's been really fascinating talking about all the different aspects of strengthening the parent-child bond.
It has. And remember, this is just scratching the surface. If you want to go deeper on these topics, you can check out the full article on the Family Services website.
Right, we've got the link in the description.
Exactly.
Make sure to check that out for a more comprehensive look at these strategies.
You know, one thing I find interesting is how these tips can easily be part of our daily lives. We don't have to overthink it or make big changes. Just doing little things can make a difference.
Yeah, totally. I think that's what makes them feel practical and easy to try. We can start doing them right away.
Exactly. Like showing love through actions. The article has some great examples.
I'd love to hear some of those. Sometimes examples help to give you ideas.
Of course. The article talks about small things, like instead of just saying good morning, you give your kid a hug and ask what they're looking forward to that day.
Right.
It's a small gesture, but it starts the day off well and shows them that you care.
That's a great example. It's about being there with them, even in those regular moments.
And it doesn't stop there. It also talks about how powerful bedtime routines are. So instead of rushing through it, try spending a few minutes cuddling and talking about their day. It's a chance to relax together and connect before they go to sleep.
Those little moments can be so important, especially after a long day. It shows love and security like we talked about before.
Yeah, and it's not always physical affection. It's also about showing that you're interested in what your kid is doing and saying. Put your phone down when they're talking to you. Really listen to what they're saying, even if it seems unimportant. Those things mean a lot to them.
Yeah, you're right. It's about making them feel heard and like their thoughts and experiences are important.
Okay, so let's move on to setting boundaries. The article has some really helpful advice about that. It says that clarity and consistency are really important.
That makes sense. Kids need things to be predictable and they need to know what's coming next.
For sure. It suggests being clear about the rules and what will happen if they break them.
It's not about punishing them, though. It's more about helping them to understand that their actions have consequences and to learn to make good choices.
Yeah, you got it. It's about guiding them, not controlling them. And it's about making sure you follow through with those consequences. Do it calmly and lovingly. It's not always easy, especially when you're frustrated, but it's really important to be consistent.
So it's like you're giving them a structure to make good choices and stay safe. And there's still room for empathy and understanding.
Right, exactly. Speaking of empathy, let's talk about that 10-minute challenge again. I think it's such a cool idea, and it can really change things.
Okay, I'm ready for the challenge. How can we make sure those 10 minutes are really valuable?
I think the key is to give them your full attention. So for those 10 minutes, forget about everything else. Put down your phone, your to-do list, all of it, and just focus on your child.
Like you're pressing pause on everything and just being with them?
Yes. You can talk about anything they want. Maybe they had a hard day at school, or they're trying a new hobby, or they just want to talk about their favorite TV show. You let them lead the conversation.
I like that. It's a chance for them to talk about whatever they want without feeling judged or rushed. And I bet those 10 minutes are good for parents, too.
Totally. It's a time to reconnect and remember what's important. And you know what else can be a good way to bond? Family meals.
Oh, yes. The article talks about how important it is to have meals together as a family.
It's so true. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Even just a simple dinner can be really meaningful if you all sit down together and put your phones away and enjoy the food.
It's about having that routine, that time and space for everyone to come together.
And you can talk about your day, tell stories, laugh together, even have some fun arguments. You're building those relationships and making memories.
And speaking of memories, let's get back to those parent-child rituals that the article talks about.
Yes, those are really special. They're all about finding ways to connect with each child one-on-one and make them feel loved.
So it's about making that one-on-one time a priority, even when we're busy. What are some examples?
It could be a weekly game night, or making pancakes together on Saturday mornings, or taking a walk together, or even just having a set time to work on a puzzle together. Just find something that both of you enjoy and that you can look forward to.
It's about finding those things that you can both enjoy that are special to your relationship. It doesn't have to be long or expensive. It's more about the quality time you spend together.
Exactly. It's about using our time in a way that shows our children that they're important to us. Even a walk after dinner or reading a book before bed can make them feel close to you.
I love that. It's about finding those little moments that make your kid feel loved. And you're making memories that will last.
You know, it's cool to think about how these tips can change as kids get older. What works for a toddler might not work for a teenager, but the main ideas are the same.
That's a great point. That actually leads us right into the last part of our deep dive. We'll be talking about how these tips can be used as kids become teenagers and even young adults. So we're back, and we're finishing up talking about ways to have a stronger relationship with your child. We've been talking about showing love, setting boundaries, and just making time to connect with them. But now my question is, how does all this change as our kids get older? As they become teenagers and young adults. It feels like a whole different thing.
Yeah, you're totally right. The basic ideas are the same, but how we use them has to change as our kids grow up and become more independent.
Right, so we can't use the same approach for everyone. We have to adapt and change along with our kids.
Exactly. Think about how we show love, for example. Hugs and cuddles are great for little kids, but teenagers often want something different.
I see what you mean. They're figuring out who they are, and they want to be more independent. So how do we show them love in a way that works for them during this time?
It could be something small, like giving them a real compliment, writing them a note of encouragement, or even just listening to them without judging them, when they're going through stuff or really excited about something. Even when they seem like they're pushing you away, they still need to know that you care.
It's about finding those little ways to connect and be there for them. What about boundaries? Do those have to change too?
Boundaries are still important, but they might be different. Instead of strict rules and punishments, it's more about talking openly, setting expectations, and giving them more freedom as they get older.
So we're trying to find a balance between guiding them and letting them be independent. That seems hard.
It can be, but it's important to learn how to do it. And remember, even when teens seem like they don't want our advice, they're still watching us and learning from us. They still need our support.
It's good to know that even when they're trying to push us away, we're still connected. What about those parent-child rituals that we talked about before? Are those still important as they get older?
They definitely are. But they might need to change too. So instead of reading bedtime stories, maybe you have a weekly coffee date or you check in with them over text regularly. The important thing is to keep those individual connections going, even as their lives get busier and they become more independent.
It's about staying involved and finding ways to keep talking to each other.
Wow, we've covered a lot of great advice in this episode. We talked about showing love, setting boundaries, making time for those special moments, and really just staying connected.
And remember, these are just ideas to get you started. Every family is different, so you have to find what works best for you.
It's like a journey, not a destination. And just like on any journey, there will be challenges along the way. But if we face those challenges with patience, empathy, and a commitment to staying connected, we can build really strong relationships with our kids no matter how old they are.
Here's something to think about. What's one small thing you can do today to connect with your child? Maybe send a text, share a meal, or just listen to them talk.
That's great advice. Little things can make a big difference. And don't forget to check out that article from Family Services for even more tips. You can find the link in the description below.
Thanks for joining us as we dug deeper into how to make your relationship with your child even stronger.
And to everyone listening, thank you for being here. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, comment, and subscribe to The Deep Dive. We'll have more deep dives on all sorts of interesting topics. See you next time.